the inshore grounds are gone very barren, and it is not to do with fishing. They have just gone very, very barren and are getting worse. And I do have a theory of it, and it's very easy to blame fishing because we're the ones that are out there every day. We're the enemy that people see, but we're not the enemy. I own a fishing vessel for the last 17 years, and I fish for nephrops and I fish for herring and sprat all around the coast of Ireland. We fish nephrops in the Irish Sea from January to September, and Dublin Bay prawns, langoustines, nephrops, all the same. Norwegian lobster is another name for them. We fish them. They only live in very muddy, flat bottom ground, which the Irish Sea is probably one of the biggest prawn grounds in Europe. Most productive, definitely, and hence the name Dublin Bay prawn. And we trawl there from January to September for these. We use two trawls, twin rig trawl, to catch them. They're very light because of the soft ground, so that they're very light contact with the bottom. We have many selective gears. I pioneered a certain type of selective gear with BIM 5 or 6 years ago called a Celta trawl, which we had great success with, which we kind of eliminated discards by up to 80% compared to the standard trawl. But every fishing boat uses selective gear. It's illegal not to use selective gear. So you'd have fish on the prawn grounds at certain times of year. Cod, it's a spawning ground for cod, the Irish Sea. So that was a big part of the selective gear as well, was the spawning area for the cod. So that's there. Skates and rays live just on the edge of it, where the mud turns into sand, just maybe a mile off the shore. And there's areas you won't go with your prawn trawls, because it's not the mud that you want to be in. We can see that with the equipment we have, and we know from experience. I've experienced in my lifetime the inshore grounds are gone very barren, and it is not to do with fishing. They have just gone very, very barren and are getting worse. And I do have a theory of it, and it's very easy to blame fishing because we're the ones that are out there every day. We're the enemy that people see, but we're not the enemy. And it is pollution, nothing else. It is pollution. It is water running off farming land, coming out through the rivers from untreated sewage and all of that. It has a massive effect on our inshore waters, and I'm seeing it everywhere I fish. When I bought my boat first, we'd be happy with, and I won't give a figure, but I'd be very happy with an X amount of money for my 24 hours at sea, and we were always catching that. 17 years later, that just doesn't cut it anymore. So I have to go to where it's more productive to fish an area that's more productive because of the rising costs. Of course I worry about the health of the ocean. Every fisherman worries about the health of the ocean. It's his livelihood. It's not, there's no fisherman in Ireland that wants to catch the last fish. There's no fisherman in Ireland that wants to pollute the area he's working in, because it doesn't make any sense. I'm dumbfounded by that question. I've been asked that question many times, and it's nearly insulting to ask a fisherman, does he think of that question, because it's madness. Of course we want that. Of course we want our seas healthy. They provide our living. Marine protected areas, my understanding of them, I find it very hard to get my head around them. What are they going to protect is my biggest question. Who are they going to protect it for? Are they going to work? How will we know they're going to work? How do we know we're picking the right area? That is the huge issue I have. I'm not for MPAs. I am for MPAs in certain areas where the science is right and they're not pushed by NGOs. Because I don't believe NGOs should have anything to do with the implications of MPAs anywhere. Because if we are going to sacrifice fishing grounds, it better work. And I know that it doesn't work. Because I have areas in Galway Bay that like I said, haven't fished in 15 years. And you would think by going there today that they'd be full of fish. There's nothing in them. They're barren. So fish doesn't always come back just because you close an area. This whole thing of MPAs, right, we're closing this sector off here. You can't fish here, you can't do this here. You really need to, that needs to be gotten right. That just can't be a line drawn on the map like the renewable energies have done. There needs to be huge science put into that. Of course, if it benefits us, I'd be for it. But I don't believe it will. I really don't believe it will. No, because what you just said is the opposite to what I'm talking about. You said if they were well managed, well resourced, and well protected, that means that they're there. The issue I have is where you're going to put them. So you were talking about having them in place already and having them well managed and well resourced. So you were talking about something that's there already. I'm talking about something that's not there, that I don't believe should be there, unless the complete science is going to say, yes, this will work. This will improve the stock for future generations. I don't believe that they can do that. I actually know that they can't do that. So I am not for MPAs because of that. If someone could come to me and say, we'll close off this certain sector and you will double your prawn catches in 10 years' time. And I say, well, maybe it's not for me in 10 years' time, but it might be for somebody else. That's great. That can't be said. Nobody can tell you that. And that's my problem with MPAs. I don't believe that they will work for fish stocks. So all I see out of MPAs is more ground lost to the fishing industry, which the fishing industry is, like I said, a third of what it was. We are disappearing. This will help accelerate that. So who are we protecting the fish stocks for? Are we protecting it for ourselves or for other marine mammals or for the fishermen? It just, I cannot see sense in this at all. When you take in all the factors, it's very hard to find a place that hasn't been touched by pollution. So you're back to my whole point of, closing vast areas and calling them MPAs might have the opposite effect of what you think they will. And that's my fear with them. Like areas like seagrass that probably should be protected. Trawlers don't go near seagrass because it clogs up our nets. The seagrass does. It clogs up our nets, which then retain mud, which then means loss of fishing gear. And like I explained to you, the cost of everything, I cannot afford to lose my fishing gear. So areas that have seagrass, you don't dare go near that area. And we know the areas. We know, don't go, if you go too far south there, you will lose nets. Like we're not we're not going around there with a cowboy hat on us throwing a big net anywhere we want. Like fishing is a very precise and it's a very knowledge based form of fishing that we do. It's pinpoint. It's very accurate now. It's not like it used to be. No, I've never been consulted about MPAs or where they should be or where wind farms should be put and where they shouldn't be put. No, I was never consulted. Oh, the fishing industry is just told it's coming and that's it. That's consultation with the fishing industry. We're given a map. There's no sense to me at all where they're proposing MPAs. No sense whatsoever. If I was sitting in front of the minister that's in charge of creating MPAs, I would tell him to concentrate on involving fisheries and science, to amalgamate fisheries and science, and to create studies and samples and all of that, and carefully, very, very carefully choose, with agreement with the fishermen and the scientists, of certain areas as MPAs, not a blanket area. That's what I would agree to, but that won't happen. It's very easy for someone who's not affected to read about an MPA and say, I think that's a fantastic idea, and put pressure on the government official to bring in these MPAs or their local elected TD. Well, we think this is a great idea. Doesn't bother them though. It never does bother them. Might make them feel a bit better by driving their big diesel SUV around Dublin or Galway, but it doesn't affect them. But it's a bit of greenwashing too, you see, which it's wrong. It's very wrong. Again, if something is going to be brought in, make sure it's going to work. We're not seeing that. And it'd take an awful lot to make me see that. So that's my issue with them. I believe MPAs could be have a disastrous effect on what I do for a living. My hope for Ireland's marine environment would be a control, a better sampling of water quality in our inshore waters, of the seabed, to see just exactly what is going on in our inshore waters. Because our inshore waters are our nursery waters. Fish come inshore to spawn. They don't spawn in deep water. So if we are polluting, which I believe we are, we've heavily polluted our inshore waters. No, it's not all about fishing, but if you want a healthy sea, it has to be healthy from the top to the bottom. So if it's not healthy in the top, it's not going to be healthy in the bottom, and vice versa. The very few people in Ireland have a relationship with the sea, because when we joined the EU, the fishing rights were sold out, okay? Coastal communities are dying. You can see it in Clare, I can see it in Inishmore, we can see it everywhere. When I was in school, the classes before me, 70% of the boys in the classes before me went fishing. The classes after me, nothing. And we're having a knock-on effect to that now. So we have less people making a living from the sea. Less people care about the sea. There's probably more people working for the 6 big companies than there is in the fishing, than the whole coastal community in the fishing industry at this point. Fishing, it's not a profession, it's a way of life. I cannot imagine myself doing anything else other than what I'm doing. I had opportunities to do other things, and I just cannot take away from life at sea. Leaving a harbour at 6 o'clock in the morning and the sun getting up is where I want to be. It's the happiest I am. I will fight tooth and nail to save my industry.